Welcome back to another episode here on the Cardheads YouTube. I am joined today by Raphael, aka Prizm Gawd.
Hey,
How
what's up?
are you?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me on the show. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Became recommended from one of my partners, Lou Papa, and looked into your page and saw the stuff that you're into. It's really cool, and so I wanted to
Appreciate it.
bring you on. Get to know you a little more and get to see your approach into the card world. So if you want to just give a little brief background how you got into the hobby and kind of what you like to do in the hobby.
Well, my name is Raphael, aka Prizm Gawd. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, live in Atlanta. I host Culture Collision, the largest show in the South. And I'm a sports card collector, and I am a salesperson. I guess you could say I ain't gonna say I'm a flipper. I'm a short-term investor, and I'm also a long-term investor. I consider myself a collector as well. I got in the industry when I was young, like probably in my teens, like I would say like maybe 10 years old, 12 years old, as far as I can remember. I got into it through kind of like inheriting my cousin's baseball cards. And from there, I kind of built the desire to kind of go to a card show. Because at the time, I'd never been to a card shop. I didn't go to my first card shop until probably was high school. I don't think I went to my first card shop until high school. Because I grew up on the west side of Chicago. Wasn't too many card shops in the west side of Chicago. And then I don't even think I even really recall going to my first card show until probably like grammar school. And then I went to the Chicago show out there and in Rosemont, I think. And then trying to think. Oh, then I met my best friend Jesse in high school. And that's how I kind of met him. And then he taught me a little bit about the card industry. And I ended up going to my first card shop in high school because he told me what a card shop was, because I didn't know what a card shop was. It was around the corner from my high school, and we ended up going there, became best friends. He killed me on a lot of trades back then. But he was the stepping stone to kind of keep me going. Like he took a break in college. And then he hit me up randomly like, man, I'm back in cards now. And I'm like, what? I'm like, at the time it was 2012. Like he's like, buy Giannis. And I'm like, I don't really even know who that dude is, but whatever. Because I watched basketball, but like I was just a Bulls fan, and all I was I would just watch just nothing but Bulls stuff. And he basically just was like, man, you should get back into cards. And I'm like, buy Giannis. And what's funny is I bought one out of two players he told me to buy. He told me to buy Rudy Gobert, and he told me to buy Giannis. And I bought Rudy Gobert, and then instead of buying Giannis, I bought Nikola Mirotic, the person that the Bulls drafted, because I was a Bulls fan. So I went off what I like. Right. So rule number one, don't buy what you like all the time. All the time. So no, it was just funny though, man. I mean, I learned a whole lot back then, and I was just doing it for the love. And then, man, here I am. Got back in like 2016, right before 2017, and like right before the draft, Lonzo Ball and everything. Like 2016, I got back into it, and I started. I had a little bit more money than I did when I was in high school and college, right? So I'm like, all right, well, I'll buy a case of cards. Back then, I couldn't afford a case of basketball cards, so it's like buying a case of basketball cards now is different because I'm an adult, I can afford it now, so I buy it. And I was going through like a bad marriage at the time. And like that was just a good period for me to kind of explore some different things. Because I was like, at that point, I was just looking for happiness. Right. I just wanted to be happy. And so bought a case of cards, went back to Chicago, went to a card show with my boy, Jesse, the one who got me back in the industry. And we bought a case of Prizm, and we ripped it for lunch, me, him, and my daughter. And we're just at the table, just ripping cards, just having fun. And people start coming over, watching us rip. And I just had fun, man. And I just remember that feeling that I had fun. And it was like, then after a while, I just started buying boxes here and there randomly, started going to a little bit more shows. And then I think, I always tell this story, because when I went to that year, going after 2016 going into 2017, there was a Rosemont show, again, a Rosemont show. And I ended up going to that Rosemont show. And I met a bunch of kids and they're like, you need to create an Instagram because you got some nice cards. And I'm like, create an Instagram for cards? I'm like, why would I do that? And so I created Instagram, and the only thing I could think of was Prizm Gawd. And that's how Prizm Gawd was born. And that's how I got back into the industry. And probably a year after that, I saw that there was an opportunity to make money. It wasn't really like I came in the industry to make money. I more so caught on to it later on. So I wasn't one of those smart guys that came in the industry was like, you know, for me, it was just an outlet.
Right.
It was an outlet, man. It was just a way for me to get away from what was going on in my everyday life, you know, going through a bad marriage and, you know, and going through therapy at the time because I just lost my brother like 2 years before that I got married. So I got, you know, so my brother died and going into that. And it was just a tough time, man. And, you know, I really was just looking for something, you know,
Right.
and outside of going to church, which is why I don't use G-O-D, I use G-A-W-D. You know, a lot of people don't necessarily always ask me that question, why I never used G-O-D. And it's because of my religious background. I mean, I don't consider myself a god or anything like that, but it was like, if I was going to do something, I was going to play on the word. And that was basically it. So that's kind of how I got in. I probably talked a lot more than I probably should have, but
No, that was good. That was good. So what was it that kind of urged you? Because you said that you now host, is it the one of, if not the biggest show?
in the South, I mean, in the South, right? Yeah, in the South. I mean, I guess you could say it was like a perfect storm situation. I mean, the South hasn't really had a big, well, I'm not going to say the South because we've had shows in Florida, we've had shows in Tennessee, we've had shows in Alabama, we've had shows in North Carolina, South Carolina, in that area. But I wanted to bring something, I wanted to bring a high level type of show, and I wanted to bring something that was different. I wanted more energy. I don't know if I was necessarily going for, I wasn't necessarily going for the biggest show in the South. Honestly, I really wanted to, I mean, you can call it ballsy, but I really wanted to kind of compete with the Nationals on a high level, you know, and then whatever that looked like. And, you know, people will got like, always ask me like, man, like my mom, I remember having a conversation with my mom when I did my first show. She was just like, you sure you want to make your show that big? And I'm like, yeah, I do. Cause it's either I'm going to do it or I'm not going to do it.
Right.
And it was like a perfect time type situation. Cause like people, yeah, Dallas are doing really well. And, you know, I felt like I learned a lot about shows just through going to different shows. We had, you know, I went to a Nationals, my eyes open and my antennas open, just kind of like watching and seeing what was going on and paying attention, kind of studying a little bit, but not really on purpose. Cause it was just like, I wasn't like at the time when I went to the Nationals before I did Culture Collision, I didn't think at that point I was going to do a show. Right. I was thinking like, I knew there was an opportunity. I'm like, I just would like to see something like this in Atlanta. Like I traveled to California, Philadelphia, New York, Dallas, Chicago, and surrounding areas. Have never seen a successful show in Atlanta. And from what I heard, you know, people have tried to do a show there, but it just wasn't successful. So I just felt like I wanted to do things my way. And that's why I kind of did it my way. And people be like always asking me like, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And why would you do this and not do this? But it's like, to me, I felt if I did it the way that most people would want it to be done, I feel like it'd be, you know, something that everybody's already seen. And I feel like Culture Collision is its own energy. Like people always talk about the energy of Culture Collision is great. And I'm thankful for that. But I think it's just all it is the energy that I feel like I would want a good show to be like. So I'm thankful for that.
Right. And how does like that side of you being in the hobby differ from, you know, the more laid back, to your point, like the outlet side of just having some fun and buying some cards? You know, putting on a show is not a small task, especially the bigger it gets.
Yeah.
So talk like kind of the difference that you have there.
Well, all right. So I had to rewire myself a little bit, and it's kind of like it's very uncomfortable. I don't like it, but I feel like the bigger picture is I'm giving back to the community by, you know what I mean? Like people always talk about how good Culture Collision is, even the first and second show. But the reality is I never got a chance to enjoy it. So I can't really say. So it's like, what's the point of having a big show in Atlanta and I can't really sit back and enjoy it? It's like I'm working. So and I hope that I'm not gonna say I hope this next show I'm actually going to enjoy the next show. So I plan on enjoying the next show more than I did the last. But I will say this: it was a rewire because I never came into the industry again. I never came into the industry to make money. It was just an outlet for me, just to have fun. And I felt like it still can be that. But the problem is now is the price of admission is a lot more than it cost back then. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's like, how can I become a collector, or how can I be in this space and actually enjoy it and not like make it all about just like, oh man, like who wants to spend 10 grand or 20 grand on a case of Flawless and then you only got $2,000 back? It's not a good feeling. So it has to be some type of way for you to be able to offset that and, you know, still make it fun and exciting and stuff like that, to where it's not just like a gamble. So for me, I started trying to focus on the business aspect of it. I knew I could make money just buying and flipping cards, but to me, it was about what business opportunity could I take advantage of, to where like it was opportunity where I could be good, it could be lucrative, and it could pay for me to enjoy cards the way that I really, you know, the way that I enjoy doing it. Like I really just like setting up and being a vendor, buy, sell, trade. But, you know, like I said, I realized there was opportunity for our market and our industry to become the leader of the new school, so to speak. Yeah. And that's really where I kind of put myself as, you know, the leader of the new school. Like, you know, nationals will always be nationals, and you can't take anything away from that. But I feel like Culture Collision can be right next to the nationals in terms of how big we can be, the type of demographic we can bring, and even expand past what you've seen in past shows. So, but I had to rewire my brain to kind of be more of a business person. And as you'll probably see me pivot more to the business side of the hobby later on this year, going into Culture Collision and going into next year. Like I've already told myself I'm only doing 2 shows a month next year. Instead of, I go to shows every weekend, and it's a lot to try to do when you're, you know, your family, your father, your everything else in between. So now I'm leading into the business aspect of it, to where I'm only going to do 2 shows, and then 2 weekends I get to keep to myself and make it about family or make it about business or something else. That way I can kind of pivot away from the vendor aspect of it, which is, again, it's the part that I love, but I feel like in order for me to get to the next level that I want to accomplish, I have to kind of sacrifice a little bit more than what I've done in the past. So I hope that answers your question. I kind of talked around a little bit.
No, for sure. When you talk about like the energy of the shows and whatnot, do you see a lot of kids coming? And when they do, like what is your sense on like the kids coming into the hobby now and the way that they're able to, you know, have fun? You know, again, to your point, like kids don't have thousands of dollars to buy boxes, never mind cases. So how is it that you see like the kids interacting, and what is like your recommendation to kids in like ways that they can have fun in this hobby that, you know, has gotten a lot more expensive over the last several years?
Well, I will say this. I feel like as like an older person in the industry, or like I ain't gonna say I'm a vet, because I know there's people who've been in the industry for 10, 20 years plus who's still doing it. But I would say it's our responsibility, regardless of if you're an older person, it's our responsibility to make sure that we keep the kids engaged in the hobby. And it can't just be a situation where we're just giving them a card. It has to be more of an education. We have to make them feel included in the situation and not excluded, which is why, you know, we chose to add sneakers to the show, which is a demographic that's a little bit more affordable for the kids. And it's something they understand, right? They understand the Travis Scott Air Maxes. They understand the Travis Scott Air Force Ones or the Drake or whatever, this, that, and the other, because that's what's popularized out there, and it's affordable. You know, buying a pair of sneakers for $400 or $200 or $100 is more affordable than buying a box of cards. And sometimes the nostalgia is almost the same either way. So it's like, hey, maybe the kid does, maybe the kid's like me, where maybe I can't get in, the price of admission for cars is too high, but maybe I can get in through sneakers, make a little bit of money there, and then get into cards. Or I learned that the margin on sneakers is less, so I can use what I learned on the business side of sneakers and apply it into cards, and then figure out a way to get into the card world successfully. So I just think that we need to include kids in what's going on. And that's why we gave out over 200 kids from Boys and Girls Club, Big Brothers, and Boy Scouts. We gave away over 200 tickets the last show, and we did that like 30 days before the show. We've already tried to reach out with them for their next show already 6 months in advance, to where we're on their calendar and we're getting them engaged. And then we're trying to focus on the sponsors, on letting them know, like, hey, look, we want to give back to the kids. Like, literally, we gave away a gift every hour of the show. That has nothing to do with, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then also we gave away, one of our sponsors gave away a case of Topps baseball. So we gave away free packs of cards through the course of the show. Then we had educational portion of the show. Then we had a basketball court. Those things cost nothing. At the end of the day, the price of admission, right? $20 to get in, then the price of admission. Then at that point, it's all about the experience. They get to walk around, see different cards, get to see sneakers, see what eBay has to offer, one of our leading sponsors, and all the other sponsors that added more value to the show. And they get a chance to talk to the people that they see on social media. There's a lot of value in the room. It's all about what you make it. So that was really my main focus, is trying to make it more appealing to the kids. And a lot of times you go to card shows, you don't see a lot of kids. And we had a lot of kids at our show. So I was pretty happy about that.
Good. Yeah, it's always good to see, because obviously without the kids, it's just, there's no one to pass it on to. So it can't continue to grow. And
having trouble managing your valuable collection and finding price transparency in the sports card market? Me too. That's why I use CardHedge. CardHedge is a brilliant price analysis and collection management tool. Track all your grades across PSA, CSG, HGA, SGC, BGS, and as well as your raw cards. CardHedge pulls their research from sites like eBay, StarStock, MySlabs, and Golden Auctions. You want an accurate picture of the sports card market? Yeah, me too. With over tens of thousands of cards in their system, CardHedge is the definitive sports card price guide. Quickly search by card, player, or set. Sort by price or percentage change. It has a lot of awesome advanced features. So what are you waiting for? Join today for only $14.99.
You see sports getting like more and more culturalized, and kids getting more and more into it at younger ages with Madden and 2K. And they even like, in there, they somewhat understand, because they have the different cards that you can get of the players and like upgrade them and whatnot. So it is good. I don't personally get to make it to a lot of shows, so that's why I wanted to kind of hear what you've been seeing as far as kids and their excitement towards cards and this hobby, so to speak. So how about yourself? Are you mostly into the Prizm?
Well, I mean, that's how I got into it. I mean, I pivoted a lot into different things. You still can't take away what Prizm is. Prizm's still one of the best iconic, products of modern day times right now.
Right.
Of course, I mean, once you get into it, I tell a lot of people, when as being a collector, you don't really, if you're new in the hobby, you don't know what to collect yet.
Right.
I always say that to people. Like, I tell it to my friends, you don't know what to collect yet. You don't know what to collect yet, because you haven't, like, I'm still seeing things that I've never seen before. Yep. And when you see those things you've never seen before, it's like, oh man. Or you feel like, because you don't know anything about this world, you feel priced out. Like, it took for me to like I bought that exquisite rookie LeBron James, or the rookie patch auto that I bought. It was probably the biggest card I've ever bought. Buying that card, I didn't even know what that card was worth. I didn't know what that card, so if I would have known what I knew now. I bought that card a long time ago. I didn't know. I just felt like I was like, oh, it's exquisite rookie LeBron. It's got to be $1 million, right? But it wasn't the case. So knowing that there are other things that are out there that are affordable, like I just bought a Scottie Pippen BGS 9.5 rookie to keep. That card's cheaper than most scout like new rookies that come into the league that's supposed to be good, and this guy's a Hall of Famer and it's one of his best cards. And then even my Tracy McGrady PSA 10 refractor, like he's one of my favorite guys growing up. I had to buy that card. I bought it for like $2 or $3 grand. I mean, like it's one of those things where after a while you kind of figure out what to collect, and you can kind of go back and say, all right, well, this was my favorite guy growing up. Let me get one of his best cards and just keep it, because chances are like these new guys who haven't proved anything, their stuff's way more expensive. So it's like, I almost feel like, dang, if you spend $50,000 on a Kevin Porter 1-on-1, or you could buy a LeBron Exquisite for $50,000, you're like, oh shoot, I'll probably buy a $50,000 Exquisite LeBron. He has, 4 or 5 rings. So, that's where I feel like you'll learn, and it takes time. For new collectors out there, you'll learn. It takes a little time. Just that's the grind work. And I will say this, I mean, I know you don't go to a whole lot of shows. Going to a lot of shows exposes you to so much that you don't see. It's like I always call the shows like a living, breathing stock market. If you want to know what to buy, go to a show, and I promise you'll hear Justin Herbert 1 million times. You'll hear Joe Burrow 1 million times. You'll even hear some sleepers. Somebody might say, oh, you like Kyle Trask? You might hear Kyle Trask 1 million times. And then you'll automatically go to eBay or you'll go to Facebook, and you're like, oh man, everybody was looking for Kyle Trask. Let me figure out why. Let me Google search. Okay, cool. He's a backup quarterback for Tom Brady, and he might potentially be up next. You don't know. So it's like you learn so much through being there, or like, the fact that a lot of people aren't spending a lot of money at the shows, but that's okay. People are still trading, still people doing other things. So, and you have to figure these things out. So it's like, you don't know. And then you might learn that, people sit here and talk on social media and Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and they'll say the hobby's dead. But then you go to a show and somebody spends $100 grand cash, and you're like, the hobby can't be dead if he just bought that car for $100,000 cash.
Right.
Exactly. So, I mean, like the 101 Mac Jones selling for $100 grand cash, the hobby's dead, right? The triple logo, man, that's on Golden right now is almost at $2-3 million right now. The hobby's dead, right? That doesn't make any sense. No, the hobby, it's a lot of product that's out there, and because of that, it's only so much money that can go around, and sometimes the money moves everywhere. Nobody was buying F1 before a year ago.
Right.
Think about that. Now millions of dollars goes towards F1. That's money that could potentially be that was in the basketball market. That's not in the, and people don't know this, that basketball was the #1 sport. There was nothing above basketball. It was baseball at first, basketball took over, and then guess what? Football is taking over right now. And people have to see where the trends are going and pay attention. So you talk about ways to become successful in this hobby, you have to pay attention. And I think that going to card shows help.
Yeah. You brought up another good point too, trading, that I personally, that's one of my favorite aspects of the hobby. I actually just did a trade this week. I got my side of it in yesterday. But I've found that is a great kind of entry point where you can, get in for relatively cheap, and then trade your way up and have fun doing it, especially if you're into kind of like that search and that hunt to find a cool, deal to kind of get done. Do you do a lot of trading on your end?
Honestly, in the beginning, that's how I would kind of, and let's say I would maneuver. I'll say maneuver. That's how I would maneuver. It's funny you say that, because I'm actually doing a segment for YouTube about how to level up your collection. So I'll probably talk a lot more about that on my YouTube segment. Right. Because literally somebody asked me, like, I think it'd be great content to talk about how do you level up your collection. A lot of people, like, it's a lot of grind that goes into it, and a lot of it is going to shows. You have to go to shows. Right. Because if you don't have to go to shows, but it's just, you either gotta go to shows or your social media presence gotta be really, really good to where people are like, because for one, you gotta find somebody that's trustworthy.
Right.
Like try doing a trade with somebody on social media you've never met before. I'm doing a deal right now. I have to pay somebody to be a surrogate in California to do a trade for me, you know, just to get a deal done.
Right.
But if you don't know the person, it's like, I mean, you won't overnight the car to me, but you want a bank wire. You don't got PayPal. You got this. So how am I supposed to work a deal with you if I can't, you know, we can't come to agreement on certain things. So that's the grunt work and the work that people are not wanting to do. But some of my biggest deals have happened because of trades.
Right. Yeah. I try to stay active with them. Like you said, it is, you know, it is a grind. There's a lot of back and forth that can happen, having to, you know, get those done and whatnot. So I want to transition back to your show real quick. How, like, at what point was it that you were like, you know, I'm just gonna go kind of all in on putting my own show together and you know, building this brand around, you know, sports cards specifically? Because I'm not sure what you were into, you know, before that, as far as like work and job and whatnot. So like what went into that? I know you mentioned like just wanting a show that you would be into, but you know, there's a lot more that goes into putting something together than it just be cool.
I agree. So for me, all right, so before I did cards on a high level, I was doing sneakers.
Okay.
So I do have a lot of friends who are still in the sneaker industry who do it on a high level. It's just that once I kind of realized the sneaker industry was kind of like, it became like you go from getting 10 to 12 pair of sneakers on a release, which is good for one person, right? And maybe you're making $100 to $150 a pair of sneakers, to now you're making like $20 to $30 a sneaker, and you're probably getting a couple pair of sneakers. And I kind of realized how the industry was going and pivoting. And I was like, this may not be for me right now. You know, and I started focusing on my other business, which was I was doing marketing. I had a company I was working on. It was called Hall Technology. It didn't really like work out because we didn't make any money, but I learned a whole lot in that process. And, you know, anytime you do business, any entrepreneurs that might be out there, you guys already understand you could do 100 different ideas and all it takes is one to work. And that's really, luckily I didn't do 100 ideas. I only did that one. And then I was like, okay, I'm making money in the card industry. I think I'm going to just stop doing this and focus on the card industry. And to me, by doing so, you know, I talked to one of my friends. He told me some words that I'll never forget, which was, I think if you put all your energy towards cards, I think you'll be really successful. And those words stuck with me. And literally, that's all I kind of hear every time I hear like soon some success happens or something happens to me. I just always remember that moment, like when he told me, man, if you just put your all into it, you're going to do really well. And that's all I did. I told my wife, like me and my wife had just met right before COVID and everything had happened, probably like a year before then. And I was telling her like, man, I think I'm going to stop what I'm doing. I'm going to do cards full time. And she was just like, go for it. And I went for it. And then, you know, just got really successful through social media, really, honestly, just through social media. So, but I only learned about, you know, marketing through my marketing company. So I kind of knew, like, it was about branding. It was like, all right, if I'm going to be Prizm Gawd, I'm going to be Prizm Gawd all the way out. I did the logo. Nobody even knew who I was. I just posted pictures. And after a while, like I met this other guy who told me that he's like, man, you need to post pictures of your face. You need to show people who you are. You need to do this. Cause it's like, I think people would like you. And by doing so, people started literally hitting me up in my Instagram. I remember going to one of my first shows where these kids recognized me and they were just like, aren't you Prizm Gawd? And I was like, what? I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah. I mean, it was kind of weird because I wasn't what I was expecting. And then after a while, I just started hearing it all the time. and I was like, golly, I'm gonna keep going to shows and people gonna start keep recognizing me. How am I gonna ever be able to get a good deal on anything if everybody just thinks, oh man, it's different when nobody knows who you are. It's like, okay, I'm gonna give you a good deal. I don't know you. Now now people think, oh man, you trying to get over? What are you trying to do? Like golly, man, I'm not rich. I need it. Give me a deal. I still want a deal. So it's like, so it still gets interesting. But I kept going, pushed my brand through what I learned through marketing. And then my wife was like, you're going to either open up a card shop or you're going to do a show. And I chose to do a show because that was the easier thing to do to me at the time. And literally when we did that, bro, you don't even understand. We did that show in 90 days. And people don't know this. Well, some people know this. Well, probably through what I post on social media. But like, that was one of the hardest things I ever had to do ever in my life. And try doing a show and nobody knows who you are in terms of a show, because it was like, that's why I originally, when I first did Culture Collision, it was Prizm Gawd presents Culture Collision, because if I did Culture Collision, people would have been like, who the heck is Culture Collision? What is that?
Right.
But then Prizm Gawd presents Culture Collision. And then it was just like, all right, well, I know Prizm Gawd, he has nice cards, but people didn't know, was it sneakers? Was it cards? Was it Pokemon? Was it this? He's inviting all these different elements. Why is he doing this? Is it a card show? And I'm like telling people like, bro, it's the same things I see at a card show. I'm just adding really sneakers. Like if you go to a card show, you see all these elements already at the card show. And then now you're starting to see more sneakers at card shows than you've seen in the past. And it's just like, I just was basically just saying what I felt like a card show should be like.
Right.
It should be all elements being able to be under one umbrella. And I like all elements. I have Funko Pops over there. I have sneakers. I have art. I even add art. I mean, I love to get to the point to where, like, in game for Culture Collision in the future, and I'm just speaking out loud, is being able to be able to go to a card show and it look a little bit more artsy. I'm not going to say what's going to happen in the future, but it's going to be there eventually. As we continue to expand, you'll probably be able to come to Culture Collision. You might see a part of the Culture Collision show where there is art. And you'll see that and you'll be like, oh man, that was a really dope idea. And I like that. This is cool. And so, yeah, I mean, that's, the whole transition from a card collector to being a show promoter was definitely like night and day, but well worth it though, because I got 1 million smiles, 1 million thank yous, 1 million this, I'm not literally, but you know what I mean? Like I've heard it enough time to where I believe it. After a while, people start saying, man, you had a good show. It's like, oh man, I appreciate it, but I didn't get a chance to enjoy it. So I'm glad that you enjoyed it. But, I was just there working. Right. Yeah. Like, who wants to go to a card show and they're working?
Right. So future plans for the show, is it to have it multiple times down in Atlanta? Do you have plans to maybe host one in Atlanta, host one somewhere else throughout the year?
I'm not gonna speak on that yet.
Okay, fair enough.
I won't speak on that yet. I haven't had the meetings that I need to have yet. But just know that we will not be limited to. That's all I'll say. Because I've had some conversations with some people who want me to do things.
Right.
And right now I'm just gonna say the conversation hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
I really hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. I really like the idea of having a more well-rounded show where, it may be cards, memorabilia, art, sneakers, Funkos, like you said. I got a whole row of them right there. So to me, like, that makes a lot of sense as well. And like you said, like, I think the name is great because it's really what it is, just bringing all these different cultures together in one place. And whether card people like it or not, most of them don't, unfortunately. But if you want to see the hobby continue to grow, we have to bring in other cultures
100%.
from other areas of collecting.
Yeah.
And so I think what you're working on, what you're doing, is a great trailblazer for that, for the industry.
Appreciate it.
I just don't, I personally, like I said, I'm not the show guy, so I don't go to all these shows, but I don't think there's a lot of shows out there that are focused on doing that specifically. So I'm excited to see what the future has for you. Do you guys have, while we wrap up here, do you guys have a website? What are all the best places that people could, follow along with the shows, follow along with you and what you're doing?
Well, you know me already. I'm Prizm_Gawd at Instagram. You can follow me there. You can also go to my website, prizmgawd.com. I have, actually, it's funny is I haven't really officially announced this yet, but I also have sneakers on my website that I'm actually selling. I have a virtual shop there for sneakers. Also just started Prizm Gawd Consigns, which is my new eBay store. I just started that. I actually haven't even, literally, I just started posting like today. So I haven't even like announced this to anybody yet. I want to get like 500 cards on eBay first before I kind of like announce it and say, hey guys, I got an eBay store. Come check me out. And once I figure that system out, but Prizm Gawd Consigns is official. I'm doing kind of like the back logistics on potentially opening up a store eventually. Like I'd like to eventually get there. But also culturecollisiontradeshow.com is a website there. You'll find out anything about Culture Collision, any information on there, or Culture Collision Trade Show on Instagram. I try to like when I brainstorm ideas, I put it on Prizm Gawd website. If it's official, it goes on Culture Collision Trade Show. So if I'm just like, hey guys, think about doing the show this day. Oh, I'm wrong. All right, let me delete it. If I put it on Culture Collision, it's official. If I put it on Prizm Gawd, it's like it's official, but like it can change if I make a mistake. So because my personal page is like I can make mistakes. I feel like Elon Musk on there is like I could put anything. And then no, Tesla never said that. We never said that. No, it's just me playing around. But yeah, that's basically it, man. You can catch me anywhere though, and I'm almost at every major show, so you can catch me anywhere.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll make sure I link all of those spots down in the description.
Appreciate it.
So that everybody can follow along.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for your time. I'm glad that we got to connect. I'm excited to see, what you got cooking back there.
Oh yeah. I'm working on some other stuff too, but I'm gonna announce that later on. Like I'm literally, people wonder like how I operate, and a lot of it is like with the first show, I had to kind of build up a lot of like nostalgia and build up like some like man, I'm ready for this. Like everybody just felt that emotional. Like I'm ready for this. I want to get it going, and like I feel like I'm kind of really good at that. I've gotten kind of really good at that at this point. It's like that hype wheel, man. It's like Apple when they drop iPhones, like everybody talks trash, but man, I got the same iPhone, but then they go back and go buy the exact same iPhone, the same iPhone the following year. I got iPhone 14, but it looks just like the 13.
Yeah.
And, so I feel like I'm good at that, but at the same time though, like I am continually trying to push the envelope and trying to make things better. Like we will have a 3-on-3 basketball tournament at this show, like we did the last show. That's cool. And that's the part. That's the only stuff I'll really reveal now. All my other announcements are going to be after nationals, because I want the nationals to have their moment, and then after that, I'm going to have my moment.
Love that. Well, I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you.
Yes. No. Thank you. And thank you everybody for stopping by and checking this out. And just be on the lookout for our next ones. See you around.
Thank you.